At least one person is dead in Canada and hundreds of thousands are without power after being pummeled by Fiona's hurricane-force winds and flooding. Some homes even dragged out to sea. Look at that video by the powerful winds and rain. But meantime, Hurricane Ian is moving and barreling in the Caribbean towards Cuba and Florida and even getting stronger. The governor of Florida, DeSantis, declaring a state of emergency as residents brace for that storm. For the latest on Hurricane Ian's path, Newsmax meteorologist Mike Masco is joining us live with the details here in the track of Hurricane Ian. Mike.
Hey, Sean, good morning. Good morning, everybody. This has been a storm that has exploded in the last 24 hours. It was a weak tropical storm not too long ago. Now it's morphed into a pretty strong Category 1 hurricane on its way to becoming a potential major hurricane across the Western Caribbean as we go into time. There is Ian right now. Take a look at the explosive convection going on around the center. When we see that on satellite, that typically is a precursor to a storm that will morph into a Category 2, perhaps even Category 3 system. And I think by tonight, Ian becomes a Category 3 storm with winds in excess of 120 miles per hour. The latest statistics as of the 8 a.m. advisory has a Category 1 storm still, but the central pressure down to 981. And we do have hurricane watches, as Sean did mention, from Tampa Bay down towards St. Pete. Tropical storm watches in effect across the Naples and Fort Myers area as we are watching the potential for tropical storm, if not hurricane force winds, to come in by Wednesday morning. And when we look at the modeling, both the GFS and the European, these are our two major models. There's, believe it or not, still a split in terms of where this storm could go. The European is the worst case scenario. That would hug the Tampa Bay area, maybe coming ashore just north of Tampa. Meanwhile, the GFS is making a beeline towards Big Bend up around the Gainesville area. So we have to kind of fine tune where the track of the storm will go. And of course, that will spell out what type of impacts we could see. But National Hurricane Center latest track kind of splits the difference, bringing the storm just north of Crystal River sometime late Thursday going into Friday morning. But nonetheless, this is going to be just to the southwest of Tampa sometime Wednesday afternoon with winds in excess of 130 miles per hour. So that's a very serious hurricane. We'll keep a close eye on it. We'll send it back to you.
Mike, you know, when you focus on Florida, and that's where the forecast cone is obviously pushing Ian, Hurricane Ian, which could strengthen even stronger. There are residents in Florida, and you're talking about a lot of them, that potentially moved from California or moved from New York, meaning they more likely have not faced a hurricane before, may not be prepared. What are some things they would need to know?
Right. Well, right now you have to have a plan in place. Know your evacuation zone. That's a big thing. When people are transplants are moving into Florida, you're living in zones that have evacuations A through Z. So figure out what zone that is, as officials will start to alert you to, you know, maybe it's zone A now that's going to have to be evacuated. That is meaningful because that is a flood zoned area that you have to leave now, because history tells us that floods when we have these type of storms.
And there are certain things that you're going to need, right? You're going to want to make sure that you have plenty of water, right? If there's sandbag locations, you want to know where those are as well. Talk to us about that. What would you want to go out and get? Because we've seen video. There are store shelves right now, Mike, that are completely empty. What should they be looking for this time?
Well, look, the way this storm is going to pan out, and if it's the track of the European, like I showed you, and it moves just up the coast, that is a major storm surge situation. So that means you're going to have to start to sandbag your property if you live on Tampa Bay specifically, because you're going to see a southeast push of wind. It's not one day, it's not 2 days, it could be 3 days of a southeast push of wind, and that's going to bring a storm surge in excess of 5 feet. So you have to start sandbagging your property now, move the boat way up if you have a lift. That's if you have a boat and living on Tampa Bay. And if you live near a stream or a river up in Gainesville, there's a lot of little small creeks and tributaries. You live along there, that's going to flood out too, because if the storm goes further to the north, Sean, that could bring in 10 to 15 inches of rain. There's so many layers to that. To this storm, we just have to figure out where it's coming in. And by the way, think back to Charlie, the weirdness and oddity of how this comes in. Charlie in 2004 came in very weird. Climatologically speaking, we don't bend these storms into Florida. We typically bring them up to the Panhandle or even into Louisiana. So you're going to have to really kind of watch this one closely, because how this is tracking is definitely something we haven't seen since Charlie in 2004.
And sometimes they can be unpredictable, right? These storms can turn east or turn west. And sometimes the models show different things. That's why you have multiple ones you're showing us. Really quickly, I wanted to highlight on this. The hurricane force winds, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're the strongest on the eastern side of the eye. Is that correct?
Sure, yeah, so we call this the dirty side of the storm. So no matter how this rolls, it's going to be keeping the southeast quadrant and northeast quadrant of the storm into the Tampa Bay area the entire time. So let's say it doesn't, best case scenario, it doesn't make landfall. It's still going to be on the dirty side of the storm. And look at this, probability of 50-mile-an-hour wind, Sean. No matter where this thing goes, it's still going to produce wind gusts upwards of 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. So it's not a good track. The best case scenario is this thing just completely washes out in the Gulf of Mexico, but that probability is pretty low at this point.
With those warm waters, of course. Yeah. The best news you have now is you have time to prepare. It is Monday, as you were saying, Wednesday to Thursday could get bad.